Nebraska, Pretend Sports coming to you shortly after Nebraska. 22 ranked Nebraska going down against number 24 ranked Illinois. Soon to be ranked a little bit higher. Nebraska, soon to be lower.
They'll be unranked.
Jacob, what do you just summarize in 3 words or less Nebraska's performance against Illinois?
Defensively, very poor. After allowing,
I think that's more than 3 words.
Oh, literally just 3 words? Oh, you just want 3 words.
But you keep going. Defensively, they played bad.
I think 3 words is good because basically, like, it was just traumatically disappointing, sad. Because
so as usual, like as always with Nebraska.
Well, yeah, but the thing is I've watched like this team disappoint me and all the other fans, but in like excruciating ways for the last 8 years, right? They're always like on the cusp. We almost beat like a ranked Michigan team by 3. They give you just enough to keep thinking that like they're right on the verge of being good, and then they disappoint you. That's been going on for so long. So then this year, it actually felt like it wasn't like a fraud because we have like a 5-star quarterback. He's playing pretty good. Our defense has allowed 20 points through 3 games, right? So then when this happens, the same thing that happens every year, basically, for the last 8 years, we lose a game excruciatingly. In overtime, by the way. Nebraska has not scored in an overtime game since 2014 when Kenny Bell caught an overtime pass to beat Iowa in Bo Pelini's last game as the Nebraska Cornhuskers football coach. We then fired him after he went 8-4 and just won an overtime game against our biggest rival. And I think we're cursed now because we have not scored in 8 straight overtime games in 10 years.
So then why did you think, what led you to be so confident this year? It's Dylan Raiola, the true freshman.
Mostly Dylan Raiola, because Nebraska has always felt a quarterback away. We never had a quarterback who could throw a football.
And to be fair, Dylan Raiola played great. I think that there were some moments, some growing pains that had to be had at some point or another, and that were unfortunately they incurred during a game that ended up being pretty tight.
I think
there were some mistakes.
I think the pressure actually got to him at the end when he dropped, just inexplicably dropped the ball twice in 3 plays in the 4th quarter. I was like, I've never seen. That was his freshman moment. No one's really seen this guy crack yet.
And before the game, I was and people were wondering too, like how they would react against like a quote unquote like real team, like an actually good, competent opponent.
Hey, Colorado beat Baylor,
and from that, and in that regard, it's like Illinois' game plan. They outcoached Nebraska up and down the field, just the entire game. It seemed like all their play calls on offense were just the perfect play call.
Yep.
Like it seemed it seemed like they were just one step ahead of Nebraska.
They averaged 6 yards a carry.
And do you think like there was a component of it where like Nebraska potentially overlooked Illinois and we're already looking ahead to like Ohio State or like USC?
Personally,
because I feel like from my perspective, like my sort of like objective perspective, like the hype train was so big after Nebraska beat who exactly? Colorado and
that's it.
UTEP.
Well, yeah, but I mean, really, they beat Colorado is the reason.
So there was a big hype train, right? And there was a lot of expectations. So I wonder, it was sort of like how much of that played into like how big of a disappointment this was, and maybe there was too much pressure, right? Where it's like things started getting tight.
All of the talking heads were saying like Nebraska 7-0, Nebraska 7-0. They were just parroting it. Everyone, even like non-Nebraska fans. These are just like, Rich Eisling and shit.
They look good. Yeah, they look
saying
good.
it. I think it's because the media wants it, probably. But I don't know. I personally don't think they looked ahead. This is I mean, there might have been a lot of distractions. It was also the 400th consecutive sellout game, if you're not aware of that. And there's a lot of like festivities that I'm sure were going on during the game and even like leading up to it. It's on a Friday night. They had a short week.
So you don't think they could have potentially gotten caught up in that? Because it seemed like, from my perspective, it just seemed like Illinois took this more seriously. They had a game plan that they executed really well. They made good adjustments. They stayed in the game. They're definitely under-talented. They weren't the more talented team. They had solid players. Yeah. Not as talented.
But on the line, it seems like
there was critical moments where they had the right call, such as what we're watching right now, where they just seemed to have the right call every time. Right? In every situation possible, where it seemed like Nebraska sometimes was out of sorts. Like it seemed like there was some sort of like a lack of a flow to how they were moving the ball, especially in the critical situations too, where it seemed like it was like 50-50. You weren't really sure what was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't really. The offense could have done better, but really, I think the problem is that the offense never had a chance to get in the groove because the defense would just let them convert third down after third down after third down. If you keep taking 3 downs to get 10 yards, you're on the field fucking forever.
Yeah, Illinois is really controlling the game with their.
They kept, even if we got into like a 3rd and 8, they'd complete a pass where the closest cornerback or DB is like 4 yards away.
Just had them completely.
It'd be like, how is he wide open?
But then again, though, I feel like there were some critical moments of the game where Illinois would come through and Nebraska would not. You know, like there was like big plays where like there'd be a sack or something like that, or like Illinois defense would hold. Like, and I feel like all this considered, there was one moment towards the end of the game where Nebraska had the ball. What was the 10 or something like that, like in the red zone, and it was a 3rd and 3.
No, they were on the like 20-yard line. It was 3rd and 3.
3rd and 3, and
this is at the end of the game. This is Nebraska's last possession.
Elects to call a pass play, sort of a gadget play, one of those gotcha plays where you throw it to a fullback, basically coming on a fucking post route.
Yeah,
damn near. Lo and behold, a play that's probably not practiced a lot, doesn't go well. Fucking receiver and quarterback aren't in sync because they don't practice it. So instead of running the ball on 3rd and 3, and maybe even going for it on 4th down, right?
Which they should have.
You have opportunity to go up 2 scores.
Regardless
you
of the third down call.
Regardless
of the third down call, they should have.
Right. So what happens next?
Well, but also the guy you threw it to on 3rd and 3, he's caught 1 pass ever.
Right. So you're not even going to your go-to guys in the clutch situation.
On. So they don't get it and they kick a field goal. Now, but if you haven't what?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
If you haven't been paying attention, Nebraska can't kick field goals.
You got a backup kicker, right?
10
so here's where there's these things where there's games that are this close where you're in opportunity, despite everything, the kids played well, you're an opportunity to go ahead, right? So
this is
you got a backup kicker. You have a backup kicker, right? Who you probably don't want to put too much pressure on because college kickers are already shaky enough.
Yeah.
It's 3rd and 3. You're on the 20-yard line. Okay. You could do the gadget play, whatever, but at least go for it on 4th down. And here we're seeing it right now. Here's a field goal.
It's a 39-yard field goal from the left hash. And of course he's going to miss that.
Of course you're going to miss that. Our
starting field goal kicker would miss that.
Of course you're going to miss that. So then that was your opportunity to go ahead at least 3 and kind of ice the game. And
there you go.
You fucking blew it.
Oh, yeah, we can just pause.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course you see.
Good seeing you. Have one Tuesday. Don't let one of these chicks
Good day tomorrow. Let's get that money.
Hell yeah, man.
Hey, you know? Hey. Gotta hit the ground running, you know?
Good thing.
Get that cold shower in, hit the ground running.
After a night of Sunday football, that money's all coming up.
Keep your head on a swivel. Get out.
All right, so then, where do we go from here? Where does Nebraska go from here?
Okay, well,
what's the path forward?
So then let me just. It goes to overtime.
What do they need to do to get to this? They go to overtime.
It goes to overtime, and at that point, like the pressure is very, very high, and for all the four-year and for all the 4-year seniors, which is a big reason that this team is supposed to be like so good, have experienced. I'm gonna just guess 3 overtimes. So then they go to overtime, right? And the second they go to overtime, obviously we have a true freshman quarterback. All this other stuff is the pressure is on because the expectations are high at this point. And now it's like, oh shit, we're in overtime against Illinois on our 4th consecutive sellout, a milestone where like in the past they've never lost on this game. So. And if you look at like the 5th-year seniors, the 6th-year seniors, whatever, those guys have experienced 3 overtime losses. I just looked it up, and I've watched all of them. And every single one of those overtime losses, the other team scores extremely easily, like right away, just like you saw in this game.
Yep.
And then all 3 of those games ended with a pick on offense.
What?
Every single one of them.
Jeez.
Last year against Wisconsin, they easily scored through a pick. 2 years before that, we played Michigan State after fucking punting it to the wrong side of the field. They tied it, and then they scored very easily, and Adrian Martinez threw a 2-yard slant, got picked off. what has happened in this game, they run it on the first play and they get like 21 fucking yards. They get 21 fucking yards. So now they're on the 4-yard line. It's 1st and 10.
They scored in 2 plays.
And this is a team in Illinois that they average 6 yards a carry on first down. It's first and goal on the 4.
And the best part is they scored on like power pass right. Like split 2 wide banana type shit. Like it was
like basic ass shit.
Yeah. It was just like,
all right, so now Nebraska gets the ball, right?
It's the most like elementary like shit.
Nebraska gets he's so fucking wide open, Jesus Christ. So Nebraska gets the ball, right? We got Raiola. There's already been a false start, so it's 1st and 15. All right, let's no fucking protection, holds on to the ball too long. Now we got like 2nd and 30.
Well, that's a use showing, you know. You gotta live to see another down.
For sure.
Like, you take a sack, you take a sack like that.
2nd and 24.
Now the game's over basically.
And
now
this is
for
horrible.
a miracle.
Like, what are you doing here? What the fuck? This is what I would do in college football 25.
Man, that's brutal.
This is me playing a video game.
That's a
like,
brutal
what is that?
fucking.
So now, like, take a screenshot of this. 3rd and 42 coming up, I believe.
3rd and
42. Yep. Take a screen cap of this. We're on our own side of the 50-yard line in overtime. Like, this isn't the NFL. It ends
even perfectly too, where he gets sacked again, right? Does he get sacked?
I think
again?
he throws it, but it's like a little dip off, and then I think on the 4th,
there's one
down,
more play. Yeah, there's a 4th down, and it's
so now it's
pathetic.
4th and 34
like, it's so
or
pathetic
something.
too, because of just like the sound of the crowd is just dead silent.
Yeah,
like,
of course, dude. They're
awkward.
stunned.
It's so awkward.
It's so awkward. They were stunned. I was stunned. I was at home. Like, this is Friday night. People in Nebraska, they love high school football, so they win
just
high school
no
football
resistance
to watch this game.
game.
Man. So, anyways, why I say like it was traumatic is because this year it felt like we had exercised our demons. Like Nebraska has exercised this whole like losing all these close games, like not being able to handle the pressure.
Like, what would make you feel that way?
The Colorado game. And I know Colorado, I should talk them. I don't think they're very good. It was more about like how big that moment was. And in the past, we crumble under pressure every single time.
Yeah, that's fair. They did really take it to Colorado.
We usually
it was a very sound defeat.
It was 28-0 at halftime, okay? And there was a a lot of flags in the second half.
You know, it was pretty it
could have very easily been 42-10. Yeah. Like they played the whatever. They had already won the game at halftime.
Man, their game against Baylor was fucking great.
Yeah, it was cool, except
really
the fact that Colorado
So
won,
so where does Nebraska go from here, Jacob? Like, what's next?
Well, so the hype train is slowed down.
What's their path forward though? Like, how do they get out of this? How do they save their season?
I think the path forward is to remember, like, preseason. I don't know about what the team was thinking, but preseason, what people's hopes were, right? And were the hopes to like go to the playoffs? No, anyone like preseason saying that would have been like, you're fucking crazy. Now they let the hype get to him very, very quickly, including myself. But before the season started, making a bowl game would have pleased a lot of people.
Hey, it's not off the table.
In my opinion, 9 games was like the expectation. I thought we should win 9 games just because we have a 5-star quarterback. And if you watch the team last year, our quarterback play, we lost 5 games by 3 points. There was 17 turnovers by the quarterback in those 5 games.
You know, I think we'll see who they play next.
They play Purdue at Purdue after they got walloped by fucking Notre Dame.
So we'll see how they respond. And I feel like that's going to be a key indicator of how we think the rest of the season is going to go. Because I think like every season has like its own narrative to it and its own challenges. And I think most players will tell you that how you respond to a lot of those is gonna be is largely gonna define like how the rest of your season goes.
Yeah.
So if they crumble, they start pointing fingers. You know, they start like not believing in like the staff, coaching, the whatever.
Yeah.
Then it'll materialize that way. But if you know they can stick together. That's usually my advice to some of the younger players. You know, it's just like you guys got to stay together. You can't start pointing fingers. You gotta ride this out. And maybe if they blow up Purdue, then you're kind of back on track, right?
And you know, one thing is that you say this about like, you know, preseason rankings. We don't actually know how good any of these teams are. So maybe Illinois is really good. I don't think they're as good as I would have thought Nebraska is. So that means Nebraska must be worse. But maybe they're just fucking sick. I don't know.
I think so. Nebraska has more star power for sure.
Yeah.
I think Illinois has great players for their system. Like whatever they're trying to do is great. Their quarterback was pretty solid.
He was solid. He looks like a goober, but goddamn, he was very, very good that night.
Their defensive backs were really good. their defensive line was surprisingly good. Surprisingly
So
good.
actually,
Like,
that's the
there was
most-
plays where the Nebraska back would get the handoff and run into a wall.
Yeah.
Like 0
ton.
yards.
Yeah.
0.
And we're talking Dante Dowdell
against the Nebraska Cornhuskers got 0 yards
Yeah.
on a rushing play
and
against
they were-
Illinois.
And what are some of the formations they lined up under?
They had these beautiful, like old school football, like double tights,
Yeah.
double wide, single back, just like perfection, beautifully balanced.
And how many yards would they get?
Great. Nebraska would come out in these beautiful formation, and every time they would use that formation, they'd get stuffed.
0 yards. But see, that's actually the most concerning thing is it's great because the thing is usually these games, like these close games, we lose because Nebraska lost. They beat themselves. This game, it felt like we thoroughly got beat by Illinois. There wasn't really that many big gaffes or other like things. So that's a little concerning. And something that Brett Bielema said in the post-game interview was that he was like, yeah, we just thought that our line could overpower them and tire them out over the course of the game. And that's exactly what they did. And that's what a lot of Big Ten team strategies are. And it worked. So that's a little bit concerning.
Their strategy, they tried to overpower.
They just have, like, Big Ten teams have big lines.
Yeah.
And we just saw the first one, and our team crumbled underneath it. And we're going to be playing Big Ten teams all fucking year.
Yeah.
So that's a little concerning.
Yeah.
You know, like Colorado, none of the teams we played yet have the lines that are in the Big Ten.
Yeah. So how many games can Nebraska afford to lose from here on out?
For me,
yeah.
I think they can lose 2. But
2 total or 2 more?
2 more. But in my opinion, that means that one of our wins has to be Ohio State. Not going to happen. Or USC.
Oh,
you cannot go 9-3 with only wins crumbling under any actual good opponent, because you know what that leaves you with? Bo Pelini era. We fired that guy. That'd be much better than the last 8 years. But the whole point of firing that guy and going through that is to rise above it. So if you just go 9-3 again with your best win being over like Wisconsin in a bad year, that's like really, to me, that's not really acceptable with a 5-star quarterback. And
you don't think 9-3, but he's a true freshman.
True freshman, but
keep that in mind.
The average age of this team is 22 and a half years old.
But the age of their quarterback's 18.
But the quarterback hasn't really been making that many mistakes, to be honest.
Yeah. You know who made a mistake?
One drive.
Well, that's the thing is like, I'm very hesitant in this, particularly with this game with Nebraska and Illinois, to blame any of the Nebraska players.
Yeah, the coaches,
I think they played pretty well. I saw their DBs make some really savvy decisions on crossing routes.
Yeah.
They switched coverages super well. They passed off receivers really well. I thought the linebackers were really disappointing. I feel like their linebackers were like the big flaw. The middle passing lanes were always wide open. You'd have linebackers who were indecisive when they were diagnosing the play. They took too long to diagnose the plays where they'd be stuck in no man's land.
Yep.
The play would be going, they'd just be standing there figuring out what's going on still.
So that's a little player execution,
which is
right?
how you get run on too, is that they couldn't, they Illinois go on these long drives running the ball so well, and it's because the linebackers weren't fitting. They were filling their gaps well. They took too long to fit their gaps, and they'd be stuck. Not sure if it's a pass or a run. They couldn't diagnose. They weren't reading their keys. They're stuck on their back heels now. You got a fullback coming right at you. It's going to happen. But I feel like despite all that, they were in a position to win. And if the coaching staff was, not trying to get cute with football games and realize that if it's 3rd and 3 and you're on the 20-yard line, your probably best option is to run. If you cannot get 3 yards in 2 plays against another team, then you're not better than them. Yeah. Like on the ground. I feel like I've heard one of my really good friends who played at Narbonne in LA, which is like they won at least one state championship. They he was just like he loves 4th and 1. He's like, because it's just one of those things where it's like, are you better than them or not? Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's just like, there's no 2 ways about this. Like, it's gonna get settled here now.
This is what they were talking about,
or play action or something.
This is late 4th quarter, and I think the Nebraska, just to try to give them a little bit of credit in that situation, I think the Nebraska coaches knew at that point, like, they are better than us. We are not able to get to 3 yards on 2 plays. We saw that.
No, because early on that drive, they were running the ball well, I think. I feel like Nebraska got into exactly what you were saying when they were, the Illinois defensive line was getting a little tired. Like, you started seeing more runs of 4
It
yards.
was kind of a long play too.
4
or a long
yards,
drive,
5
too.
yards,
Yeah.
4 yards, 5 yards here, 3 yards, 2.
So
You know what I'm
this-
saying?
I
So
guess
it's
this,
like
this is still early to like be making these calls, but this game does concern me, or it makes me think like everyone's very high on Matt Rule, myself included, and maybe he's exactly what like this dumpster fire of a team needed. But I'm wondering, like, is this a guy who's able to lead a group of like good players to being like a great team, or is he a good like floor raiser? You know.
I think,
It might be the second one. We don't know. Cause like, actually I was listening to some podcasts before the game and they were talking about like they're going through Matt Rule's like history against ranked teams because this is a ranked and Nebraska has
like 2-8 or something like that.
It's not great.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, maybe so he had great records those last 2 seasons at Temple, but who the fuck does Temple play? No one. Who the fuck did Baylor play? I don't know. The Big 12 was pretty shitty for a couple of years there. And they probably just played Texas and Oklahoma, you know?
Hey, you know me.
So I hope he's really good, but I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah. You know, I've been skeptical of Matt Rule for a while.
Yeah,
I just don't like his energy. I don't feel like he has it. And it's showing. I mean, if you're losing to ranked opponents that well, it just shows that like you just don't. There's something about preparation and game planning that you just don't got.
This is the first time.
So it depends on how humble he can be to
Yeah.
refine his game.
This is kind of a big moment because this is the first time that something has happened, and there might be a reason to blame Matt Rule for it. Because last year was a wash. He was just making something out of a really shit situation that he was left over with, right?
He was just doing surprise onside kicks.
Yeah, yeah. So then this is his first, yeah, exactly, that I saw in person.
That wasn't his fault?
I went all the way.
That was
Scott Frost.
Oh, it was?
This guy's only been here. It's only his second year.
Oh, wow.
And that was in 20.
I've known you for a lot of Nebraska disappointment then.
Yeah, yeah. So so last year, like basically all fans were just like, I mean, we started 5-2. Like, we were leading 3 or 4 games before that a year. So like the bar was low. It's kind of like you have this year to like figure shit out, and then next year we expect you to be better.
Yeah.
And now there's so much hype, and just based on how the game went, it's very plausible that like we got out coached, and that's very concerning because he hires his entire staff.
It's not just possible; it's very apparent.
Yeah, right. He hires all these,
and the efficiency in which, again, like I feel like if you can even tell in overtime where Illinois looked prepared for overtime and composed and went about their business, and Nebraska from like the first snap looks sort of just discombobulated. Like they weren't prepared to be in the situation almost.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Maybe
I'm not
they'll
wondering.
adjust.
I don't think
They'll
the players were overlooking them. Maybe just everybody sort of was. It just didn't seem like they were as prepared.
I think I don't think they're overlooking them because I think that's actually like Matt Rule's strength. His strength is like basically keeping the focus, but not
his strength is losing to ranked opponents.
But yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying is that like
and
like,
against
good teams, that's not enough. You also need like the scheming. You need the fucking preparation, like because the scheme. If you're practicing a scheme all week, you can't just adjust that shit mid game and like have it work as well as it should.
Yeah.
Right. So like once they started the game, they were kind of fucked.
It was like, honestly, like anyone just look up the highlights of this game, and Illinois' offensive coordinator was on some Neo shit,
Yeah,
bro. Like this motherfucker was in the zone.
Yeah.
They were in Nebraska's
They were in
head.
their head. They knew exactly what we were going to.
Uncanny, their play calling. However, so what do you think Nebraska's chances against USC are this year? Now that you've seen USC take a tough loss against Michigan on the road at the Big House, you see Nebraska lose at home.
I've seen much worse overall Nebraska teams compete, not every year, but sometimes compete with Ohio State. It happens sometimes. So I don't know. They could beat you. I don't know. I kind of want to see more games against Big Ten teams now because everything I'm saying, it's kind of contingent. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't actually know how good Illinois is. Maybe the coaches will be able to properly adjust. It's just like the first moment where I'm like a little bit concerned that shit might be way less sweet than I thought it was instead of just like slightly less sweet, you know?
Ohio State hasn't played anyone this year.
No, they have not.
They've just been eviscerating the likes of Akron, Western Michigan, and Marshall.
So do I think Nebraska's going to go into...
They don't have any game that is worth anything, in my opinion, until... Well, they got Iowa, so, you know.
Nebraska's not going to go into the horseshoe and, like, beat Ohio State. This is not going to happen.
They got Oregon
But,
Ohio State, Oregon,
yeah,
October
they're coming
12th.
up.
They got Nebraska the week after that.
Oh, okay, that's good. That helps us a little bit. But I'm
And
glad that
they got
Ohio
Penn State after that. So Ohio State goes on
that's
a
a big run.
They go through a gauntlet.
I'm
yeah.
glad that game though is before USC, because I think USC is more winnable, and the Ohio State game will prepare them for like a big moment, like against a really good team.
It's tough. It's tough to tell how good USC was because I don't think anybody. I mean, people thought that it would be competitive, but like, did anyone really think that they were going to go into the big house, like basically a primetime game and win?
Everyone thought USC was going to win that game.
I didn't.
Well, I'm saying like in like the college football media, whatever.
It's because Michigan got eviscerated by Texas.
The betting line, and then the way the betting line moved.
Yeah,
it opened at -3 and closed at -6.5 for USC.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say I'm not surprised that USC lost a close game because like it's just such a tough environment
for sure.
there.
But I think the problem is
the stadium capacity is 100,000 people. You think anybody flew up from fucking California to Ann Arbor?
Yeah. Dude, I think the main reason is because Texas just made them look so bad. But the thing is, people are missing is that Texas is going to do that to a lot of good teams this year.
Texas is really good.
So that's not really fair to like.
All you Texas haters, you better start reconciling your feelings now. These guys are legit.
When Georgia plays at Texas on I believe it's October 5th, they might shock the world. They might shock the world, man. They might fuck up Georgia. They might blow out Georgia. It's possible. Let's see if Georgia mysteriously. Well, let's see if Quinn Ewers mysteriously goes down early in the first quarter. No, actually, true. Actually, Arch Manning has to come in. Their coach said before. They got a movie deal already in the works for this story, folks. Their coach said that before the game yesterday that Arch Manning could go 100 for 100 and score 50 touchdowns. And Quinn Ewers will still return. Their head coach did. Now, he might be just lying, but he did. You got to play the PR game. He didn't have to say that. But Quinn Ewers is fine. Yeah, I feel like you keep. I feel like he kind of has to do that for like recruiting sake. It's honestly. Like, oh yeah, there's like a PR component to it. I think you have to. It's just better for continuity. It's like you got Quinn Ewers. It's like let's steady the ship here. Let's be like, okay, it's great to know that Arch is fucking legit. Yeah. And we have a bright future ahead of us. Yeah. That's good enough for now. Let me close up the Nebraska thing just real quick. So basically, we were all really, really high on our own supply, myself included, and this is a necessary dose of reality, and we'll see how they look against Purdue next week. All right. That some of these losses can be really good growth opportunities. True.